Josh guy. Okay, Josh, I think he wants to get back on. Oh, add a speaker. Okay, Josh wants to get back on. I get you back on in a minute, Basho. But Josh hung up and he called back. So let's see what Basho. What's up, Josh?
Yo,
All right, what happened to you, man?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I really don't fucking know what happened.
Okay. Okay, so man, like I said, man, the I have a lot of concern about the kid being raised in that household, man.
See, and that's
I
sad
really have.
because if you had a kid and I was concerned about how your kid was being raised, you would tell me to fuck off. So that's what I'm gonna tell you is fuck off
No,
because you
no, I'm
have
not gonna
no
fuck
authority.
off. No, 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 no. I'm not gonna fuck off because I see black children being harmed in these white households all the damn time, and by the time people want to do something about it, it's too late. And I see black children being harmed with impunity, and the signs are always there. I'm not going to fuck off because I look out for these black children. And when you have people raising these children with these dangerous mentalities, that is something to be concerned with, sir. So ain't nobody gonna fuck off here. You gonna fuck off, and I want to know if these kids are gonna be okay because y'all get to do whatever you need to do with these kids, do whatever you want to do with these kids, and nobody bats an eye, and the signs are always there. That's the sad thing. I have a major problem with black children being raised in white households because of systematic white supremacy. They get on code, the authorities get on code with you, knowing that there's signs there, and y'all can do anything y'all want to with these damn children, and these kids have zero protection under a system of white supremacy. So I do have concerns. So ain't gonna be no fucking off here. I have concerns about that. And you sitting up here talking about ain't no white supremacy and a victim mentality and all that bullshit, and you can get away with doing anything to these kids. So I do have a problem with that. Not saying you are going to do anything to the kid, but you have the ability to do whatever, and the white supremacist authorities will be on code with you. That's a problem.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Why is it that every time I'm trying to say something and I know that you don't want to hear it, I end up getting muted?
Because you're not going to talk about fuck off when it comes to a black child that you're sitting up here probably indoctrinating, talking about ain't no systematic racism, and you're creating a victim right in your goddamn household. And I have a problem with that.
Okay, so
I have
if
a
I'm
major problem with that.
okay, so my thing is when you're talking, I'm not cutting you off. But when I'm talking, you have
But I'm
no
not going to,
issue
and I'm
because you
I'm
want to
not
be
going
the
to let
loudest
you
in the
rant.
room.
Yeah, I'm cutting you off because I'm not going to let you rant. When I ask a question, you have a tendency to just kind of go off and rant and deflect, and I want direct answers for the questions that I ask, sir. I want direct answers for my questions.
Okay, you want direct answers,
Yes, I
like this
do.
is some kind of exam,
It's not an
when
exam,
really it
but
should be have we
I
should
don't
it should be
want
a
you talking.
conversation.
I don't want an exam. I just don't want you ranting and just giving empty talking points because those are deflections. See, if we're going to have these type of conversations, let's have these type of
Well,
conversations.
I'd like for it to be a conversation, not you ask me something, I say something you don't want to hear, so you mute me.
Right. I don't want to hear deflections. I've let you know. I don't want to hear deflections. I've let you know that from the beginning of the conversation. And if I ask you something and you start deflecting, sir, that's a form of practicing white supremacy because it's based on deception. White supremacy is all about being deceptive. So I don't want any type of deception here, sir.
Is
You
it? So
understand?
so am I a white supremacist?
No, I suspect you could be, but I'm not saying you are. I suspect you could be, but I'm not saying you are. And when I see certain tactics that white supremacists use, then I have to stop you and say, "Hey, sir, we don't want you to do those type of victimizing tactics that's common among white supremacists." And I hope you are not one, especially when you're raising a black child in your household. I would really hope you're not one. But I don't
You,
know. This is why we're asking questions, trying to get to the bottom of this
you know what?
racism.
You know what's so sad about you even thinking that is the fact that I've never met you man to man. You don't
Right.
know who I am. and you don't know how I live my life or how I choose to live my life. But yet you still have this preconceived notion because of your victimhood mentality that I'm a white supremacist or that I could be a white
Right.
supremacist. Uh,
And you
but
just told, and what you did was invalidate my real life claims. I told you I was a physical victim of white supremacy, and you used what we're calling the I'm white and I say so narrative and said, no, it's just in my mind. So that further makes me suspect that you can be a white supremacist. You understand?
okay, so you're labeling me a white supremacist
No, I
with
suspect you could be.
with
Not
with
saying you
with
are.
no prior knowledge of who I am besides this conversation,
Right.
and you think that I'm indoctrinating my child because I don't believe exactly what you believe.
You sat here and completely invalidated my claim. You've never met me. You told me that you never met me, that I'm not a victim of anything and it's in my mind. And you don't know anything about me. And if you can do that about me and you don't know me, what if that child comes home and says, hey, stepdad, some white kids at school called me a nigger and the teacher didn't do anything about it? What are you going to tell that kid? It's all in his mind? What are you going
No,
to
I
tell?
would go up there and deal with it.
Well, no, when it came to Joe Rogan, let's go back. Looking at your track record, you were like, well, hell, people make mistakes when they practice anti-black racism. These are your words, sir. You said, well, hell, give him a chance. Everybody makes mistakes. Can he make a mistake? Well, what's the context of him saying nigger? So we know what your stance on nigger is. If somebody says nigger, it might just be a mistake. Well, it
See,
might just be a certain context.
you must not have heard me earlier.
I heard you.
I literally said I understand that you shouldn't say that word, and it made me uncomfortable in high school when my teacher even said it when she was reading Of Mice and Men. You know, but that it makes me uncomfortable when anybody says it. Like that's what it does. But
But you gave Joe
what I
Rogan
was
a pass, sir.
what I was saying and what I said, not what you are saying that I said. I'm sure everybody on this call heard exactly what I said exactly is that in the context that he was saying it, he wasn't saying it to be demeaning to black people. He was saying it as if so I'm not talking look I'm not talking about the Planet of the Apes thing, okay? I'm talking about the whole compilation of it. He was saying it not to be demeaning, but to be explanatory of what somebody else said or what somebody else was saying. So
Oh,
you sitting here saying you literally just sat here and said, "Oh well, we know your thoughts about the N word, and we know you." What are you not listening, or do you listen to what you want to hear and you filter out everything else? Because
um,
you just said that I have a certain view on something when literally like 10, 15 minutes ago I said the exact fucking opposite.
no, you said pretty much what you said earlier. You kind
So
of gave Rogan a pass.
can you run this spaces back and listen to it? Because I would love for you to do that, and I would love for you to know that you were just proven wrong, and you are literally filtering out everything that I said and trying to make it fit your narrative of me and who I am and what I think, instead of
So
actually looking at actually what I said, what I am, and what I think.
I've heard you give Joe Rogan a pass for his anti-black racism, and you said, "Well, the context. It depends on the context, and certain
Okay,
people
so
can
Joe
make
Rogan is
mistakes."
racist.
Very much so.
Joe Rogan, with his black wife and black kids, is a racist.
Very much so.
Okay, you're
What do you
crazy as
think?
shit, my man.
You think having a black wife and a black child excuses racism, sir?
No, I'm not saying that makes
So,
him,
so
it
how am I
excuses
crazy?
him from that.
and
Okay,
I'm
have
bringing.
you ever,
Oh, hold on.
Tariq,
Wait.
Tariq,
Hold
have
on.
you ever said the N
Hold
word?
on. Hold on. Yes, I have. I say it
Have
all
you
the
ever
time.
said the N word with the hard R explaining what somebody said to you?
Yeah,
Does that make you racist, Tyreek?
I cannot be a racist against myself, sir.
Oh,
Who am
really?
I going to be
I've seen
racist
many
against me?
black people that are racist against black people.
It don't work like that. You
It
cannot.
doesn't. Oh,
You can't be racist against yourself, sir. It don't work like
everybody else can be racist, but black people can't be racist, right?
to ourselves.
To anybody, Tyreek.
We don't have a system of racism that black people exudes on people. We don't have that. We don't have a system where we can practice racism on people. We don't have it.
Y'all don't.
No, racism is a power dynamic, sir.
So is reverse racism a thing or no?
What's reverse racism? Explain that, sir.
Um, Black people making fun of white
Yeah,
people.
that's
Black.
calling somebody a name is the extent of so-called black racism. That's not systematic, and it's not something that is practiced as a group. You're trying to compare a black person calling somebody a name, and that's really what black racism is. That's what
But
reverse racism is, a black person calling somebody a name. You're comparing that to white society, mass incarcerating, gentrifying, miseducating, um, employment deprivation, judicial misconduct, and a whole system of oppression. You're trying to compare a name calling session to systematic oppression, sir.
okay, so you said oppressing them as a group. So you believe that all people in the world who have any bit of white in their body are systematically racist against black people.
No, because all white people are not white supremacists, but the white supremacists are more powerful than the white people who are not racist. And a white person practicing racism, it's different from a black person calling them a racialized name. You know why? You know why it's different, sir? You know
Why
what the
is
big
that?
difference? Because that white person has an entire army to back them up,
So does
and the
that mean that my
black
teacher in high school reading Mice and Men,
uh-huh.
given the context of saying the N word, she
Mm-hmm.
said it, okay?
Yep.
Does that make her racist, Tyreek?
I don't know the context, and I don't think she is racist. Just
I
by
told you
reading,
she was
just by
reading it of Mice and Men, and she said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna have to say this word just so you know it's a bad word, and you know it was people used it during slavery times to demean black people, this, that, and the other." And then she said it. Okay,
right.
the fact that she said it,
Okay,
does that make her racist, Tyreek?
sir. First of all, nothing
Answer my
happened to
question.
that.
Answer my
Nothing.
question.
I don't know the teacher, sir. I don't know anything else
And you don't
besides.
know you don't know Joe Rogan either.
I don't. I don't know. I do know nothing happened to that teacher. Nothing happened to her. She wasn't reprimanded or punished for that. So you're
Oh,
using apples and oranges. Now, Joe Rogan, on the other hand, Joe Rogan has a pattern of doing things that are very anti-black. He has a whole pattern of doing this stuff.
and anti-black, like marrying
Yes.
a black woman and
Ye-
loving her
so-
very much. That's very anti-black, isn't it?
Okay, that doesn't excuse anti-blackness. You think you keep repeating that he has a black lover?
Well, I'm saying
So,
you're saying that he's
sir, you
anti-black. Wouldn't anti-black mean against black?
that don't mean
Isn't
that
that
you
the
won't be
exact
able.
definition of it?
No, slave owners had black mistresses. Do you think they were pro-black?
No, they weren't pro-black. Does that mean that they're anti-black?
If they're a slave owner, yeah.
If they're slave owner and they have a black mistress, does that mean that they're anti-black, which the definition of would be against black?
Yeah. You know,
You're wrong, buddy.
okay, Thomas Jefferson. Do you think Thomas Jefferson
I don't fucking
Was
know anything about Thomas Jefferson. How
I'm
fucking long ago was that?
I'm telling you, Thomas Jefferson, president, major slave owner, had an infamous black woman who they call his mistress, but she was a victim of white supremacy. He was raping her, named Sally Heming. Had a mistress for years. He
Yeah.
was laying up with her, had several children by Sally Heming, but he kept her enslaved and kept the children enslaved. And
So
Thomas Jefferson wrote a book about how supreme the white race was. They call him the father of white supremacy. He wrote a book talking about how inferior black people were. So, what does him laying up with a black person mean?
so you're comparing Thomas Jefferson,
Uh
a,
huh.
a slave owner
A slave owner, yes.
who was raping a black woman and
Yes,
had kids with her.
like many of them did. Yes, which was common
Okay,
on plantations.
you're
Yes.
you're comparing that to
Yes.
Joe Rogan, who has had
Yes.
two wives
Yes.
before his current wife,
Uh-huh.
who was black.
Yes.
So the
Y-
comparison is Thomas Jefferson
yes.
raping a black woman, also
Yes.
owning slaves, is the exact same as Joe Rogan laying up with a black woman and having kids with her willingly, even
Yes.
though slavery is not even a thing right now.
Yes. With a capital Y. Yes, it's the same thing.
Tariq,
It's the same thing.
Tariq, look, be real with yourself for a second. Are you? Be real, man. Like, come on, that is the most asinine thing I've heard today.
How so?
Because you're literally comparing somebody who's a slave owner
Uh-huh.
who was raping black women and having
Mm-hmm.
kids with them
Yes.
to a white man in 2020
Uh-huh.
who has had two white wives before him
What's the
that he
difference?
divorced.
What's the
Um,
difference?
well, let's think about this, Tyreek. He doesn't own slaves. He's not raping his fucking wife, and she is willfully consenting to a relationship with that man.
Okay.
So the only reason you're saying yes with the capital Y is because it fits your fucking narrative.
Uh,
That is
so
the most asinine thing I've heard
but you
at
said a person
this
who's
year,
anti-black,
bro.
but you just said a person who's anti-black wouldn't lay up with a black person, and we both acknowledge that they will. They would do that in slavery. Slave owners laid up with black women all the time. So what are you
Okay.
talking about? That destroyed your own narrative.
So that makes him anti-black because he was using the N word in context of explaining. That makes him anti-black, right?
Sir,
Not
you
the fact
think
that he's gave platforms to various black comedians,
so so
entrepreneurs, everything like that. That makes him
saying
anti-black, right?
calling black people planet of the damn apes, that's not anti-black, sir?
I feel like that is a very derogatory thing to say about people, and that shouldn't be said. But that doesn't make you anti-black in one statement.
Really?
I heard you saying earlier, oh, this guy is indoctrinating his black kid and saying this and that, and you know, this black kid is gonna grow up. Oh, poor black kid. Does that make you anti-white, Tyreek?
Very bad correlation. That didn't connect,
Does it
sir.
make does it make you anti-white,
That's a
Tyreek?
horrible correlation.
No, because
That
you're saying that
your
me as a
correlation
white, you're saying me as a white.
your correlation made zero sense, sir. Very horrible correlation. That didn't connect at all. Now, sir, you sat here and you're making excuses for Joe Rogan calling black people the planet of the apes. You're sitting here making excuses for that. And you have a black child in your household, sir. Don't you see how problematic that is? Turn your microphone on.
Since we're talking slow like this, I literally just said that that's a very derogatory thing that shouldn't be said about black people,
But you
and
said,
it's very
but
wrong.
but you said it wasn't anti-black.
All right,
You
well, I'm
said
gonna
it
hop
wasn't
off this
anti-black.
spaces because you keep muting me when
Yeah,
I'm trying
you're
to
not.
talk.
You're not going to talk over me. That's not what you're going to do, sir. And you've already shown us what you're really about, sir. You just said that Joe Rogan sitting here talking about nigga, 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 nigga. Well, it's just not in the right context. And him referring to the black community as the planet of the apes, well, he just said it once. I mean, that's problematic. You seem to make a lot of excuses for white supremacist anti-black behavior, sir, and that's why I have a problem with that black baby in your house. I have a real problem with that, and I hope that baby is going to be safe.
What, Tyreek? Why would he not be safe? He's my child.
Sir, I've seen too many instances with these white stepdads around these black kids doing all types of vile things to them.
So you're
Not
assuming.
cool. I'm assuming, yes, I am. I'd rather be on the safe side than sorry. I hope that child is okay. I
Well,
really,
he's very okay and he's very well taken care of. And honestly, he's fucking 5 years old, Tyreek. He's
which
not
is,
worried
which,
about racism.
which really worries me. Which really worries me. I'm not going to even front. I'm very worried about that baby. This black child in a house with you two white people talking this crazy. My heart goes out to that baby because that child is in danger. I really feel that that child is in danger being in that household. I honestly feel that, sir.
Well,
I
I'm
do.
sorry.
I,
I'm sorry that you
I
feel
don't
that way,
like that
Tyreek.
at all because nobody protects our babies. They get around y'all and you up here talking about ain't no racism, and just because somebody's yelling nigga and calling folks the planet of the apes, that don't mean nothing. And that's these black babies sitting up there with you. Nobody's protecting that baby. Nobody's protecting these black children. They turn a blind eye. And I have a major problem with that shit. I'm not gonna even front with you, bro.
Hey,
Major
Tyreek.
problem.
Tyreek.
Yes.
So you just went on something and you were saying that I was saying that it was okay that Joe Rogan said,
You've
and I
sat
was trying to no.
this whole conversation, you've sat here and justified white supremacy. You've sat here and denied white supremacy. All of that is to maintain white supremacy. Justification of it and denial of it means you're trying to maintain it. And if you're trying to maintain white supremacy out here, that means you'll try to maintain it within your household. And you have a poor victim of white supremacy in that house with no sanctuary, with no protection. And I have a problem with that because you have a green light to harm that child and nothing is really going to happen to you. That's a problem.
Tyreek,
Yes,
can I get a moment to speak without you muting me because you're hearing something you don't want?
because really at this point, I don't want to hear you rant, and I'm seriously concerned about that child. Right now, my concern is that my biggest concern is that baby up in that household, and you have the views you have. Very dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous because I've seen too many train wrecks of relationships happen in that dynamic, and I don't like it. And it's only people like me and other brothers who know how to ride out when we see certain situations like that because the white authorities, they got this white supremacist code that they get on with you guys. When it's a black child being harmed, they all turn a blind eye. They do not help these black babies. And I just don't feel comfortable with that. Not saying you are. I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you're doing anything.
But
But
you
based
are.
on based on your ideology, it don't look good, man. It just don't look good.
Okay, so can I get a moment to talk?
Go ahead, man.
Okay, so I just like to let everybody know in the spaces, anytime I try to defend myself, I was muted, and Tyreek went on a tangent about, oh, this black baby, this poor black baby. I never said that Joe Rogan saying Planet of the Apes was right. I literally said the opposite, and I hope that we can get a recording of this voices
Okay.
and
Oh,
show.
okay. All right. Thank you so much, brother. Okay. I don't want to hear this dude explain. Now okay. I don't want to bore you guys with this guy explaining. All right. We already know his ideology. I took him off. Okay, family. I don't want to bore you guys because now he's explaining. He's explaining. Now we know his ideology. He's one of these guys who's going to deny racism all around the board. It's a bunch of talking points. It- that would be one thing. But now, when there's a kid in that house, I'm very concerned, man. I'm not going to even lie. I'm very concerned about the baby. Let me get some folks in here. Let me get